Hello and welcome back to the McSherryStudio. Today I'm going to show you how to paint one of these. Okay, so it's a kind of a bird icon influenced by the Byzantine style. It's going to be using gold foil, not real gold. If you've ever tried to use real gold, it's I think probably a 7-year apprenticeship to learn how to use it. I've used it before, but I certainly wouldn't try it on a live video. Okay, so with that said, the rest of it is acrylics. Now, this is a long video, so don't be fearful. You can always access the chapters, which you can see in the description below the video. You can also see the chapters if you hover your mouse over the timeline. I think they call it the scrubber bar actually, but you can see the breaks in it, and that's where the chapters are. So if you want to see the the wash and the drawing, it'll be separate from the Brunaille that I paint, and that will be separate from going to colour and then the reveal. Okay, so you can save the video and watch it piecemeal if you want. So should we get on with it? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is show you the support on which I'm going to paint. Here it is. That's the size. That's 18 centimeters by 24 centimeters. Okay, but this is a very, very nice board. For a start, let's have a look, see who it's made by. Bellarti. I don't know, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. My Italian isn't great. Lovely bit of kit, this. It's a plywood. It's quite sort of thick. That's got to be 7mm thick or something like that. But it's the way it's gessoed. It's just absolutely superb. It's a joy to work on, and it's almost like glass. It's very, very, very smooth. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to paint on. So let's have a look at the other materials, shall we? Let's have a look at the palette. Now you'll notice that I've got a different colour palette here. It's a grey plastic palette. That's actually for oils as well, but today I'm going to be using acrylics, and I didn't want to put the acrylics on the wooden palette that I have because it might dry there, some of it, and mess up the palette a little bit for further videos. Okay, so let's go through these paints here. Now it's all acrylics. This is going to be an acrylics painting apart from the gold leaf. All acrylics. Now, there's a bunch of different brands in here. They're all compatible. All the acrylics brands are compatible as long as they're just straight acrylics. This is titanium white, Winsor & Newton one. This one's actually a Sennelier colour, which you can't get in any other range, called warm bright yellow. Cadmium yellow medium, cadmium red medium, cyan. So this is processed cyan. So I told you in other videos that in a former life I was a printer. Ultramarine blue, green, permanent green light, burnt sienna, and this is red oxide, a colour that goes underneath the gold. Okay, but more of that later. Okay, because it's acrylics, I'm using water instead of a solvent for oils. Okay, it's water this time. The first thing I'm going to do is the same thing I do with every painting, is put on a wash. So a bit of water and then some burnt sienna to make just, I mean, I'm sure you can't tell the difference between that and oils on a video screen. I do recommend always to use professional grade acrylics, even more than oils. The difference between professional colours and student colours in acrylics seems to be greater than it is in oils. I don't know what it is. I think it's probably because oils are a much simpler animal. They're just generally, to a large extent, just a mixture of pigment and oil. Now, I mean, you can get fillers and things like that. That's usually just to bulk out paint to make it, dry at the same rate, because pigments dry, they set at different rates. So probably things to do that, but that's more important in acrylics. And in acrylics, there's all sorts of things, like, I don't know, humectants was one thing. I'm not even sure what they are, but they are a complicated animal. And I think that the student grade, they show up more as student-y colours more than more than in oils. If you look for good brands, you know, Sennelier, Golden, Winsor & Newton Professional. I mean, Golden, I don't think they even do a student grade paint. So, you know, so there you go. So there's my wash. And of course, the next thing is to do a drawing. All of this bird's going to come up to about here, and it's going to be monumentalized. My plan is to monumentalize it with the gold. Okay, so the bird's the important thing. The river and the background, you know, of the bird are kind of just supporting roles, really. You'll see anyway. Okay, and you know, I'll be using the bird, and but I'll be making up all the other supporting things anyway. So let's put a line down the center of this so that I know where I am on the canvas there, and say I want the bird to come up to about here, and I want its tail maybe to come down to about there. It's a good size on the canvas. Now he's at an angle. Let's kind of describe the angle that he's on there, sitting on his branch. Okay, and then put the head there like that. Got a little bunched up body. I've actually only ever seen a kingfisher once, and it flashed by me, and it took me a while to figure out what it was. It's this blue flash. It was an amazing experience. That was in France, but they're starting to appear again on the Dodder, which is our local river. And indeed, there's a nice community project going on down near my local supermarket, where there's a community garden, and they've seen the kingfishers coming back there, which is wonderful to know. I actually didn't even know they'd been missing, but apparently they have. So something like that, okay. And then there. Now let's figure out. Obviously, it's going to be a riverine scene. So let's put that. He's sitting on his branch, and create a little bit of tension between the beak and the branch here. That'd be a nice branch there. You do whatever sort of supports the principal object, which is the bird. So then that can come up there like that, up there. So this will be all the riverbank, and then we can have that coming across there. This could all change, but at the moment that would seem to work. Could be on a bend in the river. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? There. Okay, now I'm going to put in a little bit of a Notan type affair going there. There's back there. It's got that lovely electric blue stripe running down his back, and all of this when the gold goes on these and the object is complete, it does look spectacular, like a Byzantine icon, which I find truly beautiful as well. I've never actually sort of done any icon work. I can come up a bit, and then that would be different paint again. It's I think it's a requirement, isn't it? So it's egg tempera. It would be lovely to do a course in that one day. Yeah, that's not bad. Dry for a second. I'm going to do an underpainting first because I want the thing to be correct. So I'll show you how I do that. This is a mixture of ultramarine and burnt sienna, just the same way that I do oils. Let's put that in there. This kind of is eye mask. Looks like he's out waiting there to rob a carriage, stand and deliver. And then there's a dark there, the dark running down his back. The dark there. And this is all going to be dark. So I find with acrylics, it takes a while before the paint starts to become, for it to stop dragging. It's not like oils. The oils glides on, but I always find in the first few, maybe first half an hour or so, the paint seems to drag, but it gets better. Yeah, and obviously this branch is going to be dark. That can come there like that. Up there. And this is all dark. So I'm not going to paint at all up around here. So that's for part 2, when I do the gilding and the gilding and the making good. Okay, so here. It's not bad. So I did say I was going to put him on a bend in the river. So maybe that can come up there like that. And that can come down. There's the branch. We can even put another bit of branch coming down there like that. And another bit coming down like that. Just make it more of it. Okay. Now that can come up. In fact, in this case, it's going to be a proper underpainting, which I call, because I'm using these colours, a Brunaille. You've heard of the term grisaille. Well, grisaille is grey. You can do an underpainting in grey, but when it's kind of these warm sepia tones, you call it a Brunaille. Okay, so, and how I do that is I use this warm bright yellow plus burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, just those 3 colours, and mixed together, and it makes a grey, but it makes a warm grey. So we can put that in here. Because just like a sacred icon, a religious icon, it's not painting reality. It's making something more. It's not hyper real, but I don't know what you call it. It's really just trying to make a beautiful object. Now, I've got to be careful about what I'm doing here, because I'm talking. I messed it up. That he's actually feet come there. His legs come down to that, so that's going to have to come down there like that. That's fine. We can just bring that there like that, and then paint that out a bit more of the warm bright yellow. That's fine. And of course, the bird himself down here is light enough. Coming down to the feathers there, and then mix it up a little bit more. It's just these three colours at the moment: ultramarine, burnt sienna, and warm bright yellow. And this is darker here. It enables you to get the composition correct before you ever go to colour. Okay, and his breast is kind of lighter again. So we're only looking at this tonally at the moment. There we go. Okay, so let's go back to a lighter tone here. The other thing about this is you need to keep the paint flat, reasonably flat. Okay. Okay, so I've actually used a hairdryer, because otherwise it'll just take forever. You wouldn't need to do any of that in oils, but with acrylics, with this technique, you need to have it dry before you start putting on another layer. So I'm going to emphasize these darks. Dark there. Up around his eyes. There. That's dark coming down there. His beak is dark. That sort of liminal area, that's kind of darkish, same as dark here. Lightly dark there, down there. That's definitely dark here. And then we've got the background. So I've sat him in a kind of a V shape or a U shape because I want the attention to be on the bird. All this will be dark and quite sort of, how would you say, sparing in detail is the intention. That's a branch. So I'm starting to build up the tone. That can come down there. Burnt sienna, ultramarine blue. Okay. I might use a larger brush just for this, so I can get the job completed in good time. I think I might actually curl that area around a bit. That can come down. Bring that up. Could be all different sort of heights of bushes and trees. See, I need a darker branch for him to be sitting on. That comes down there like that. Push that up. Push that in. I push this river around until I think it's a shape that I like. You know, the reference doesn't say any of this. This is me making parts up. That's dark there. Right, back to the Kingfisher. Let's see, it's starting to get more solid now. The intention is not to use any particular colour. It's just for it to be greys. Okay. There, like that. That's obviously we'll do some more with that around his head. There are some those flashes of red, orange, and white. Let's start to put them in. So for the lit part, you know, the white flashes, I'll just use a bit of the warm bright yellow. That come in there like that. And then the one across his neck. Drop in the brushes. Right. Back into that spinal electric blue. I think when there's enough acrylics on the painting, the paint starts to flow a bit better. So if that can go up there like that, push that away, that can go around. And I need to bring some dark in over here. Okay, and that's dark there. Yes, this allows you to, this kind of style of painting allows you to get the composition the way you want it. Before adding the colour. So it's not like an alla prima painting. It's more like a classical painting than the time of, how would you say, Vermeer, or who else would have used them? Caravaggio would have definitely used these underpaintings. Pigments were so expensive that you need to get the painting right before you started to add the precious pigmented colours. Come in there like that. Okay, I've just used the hairdryer again, just to save your patience. That comes down there like that. Or that up to his back. That's good. Okay. Grab slightly darker. All those little details, they can go in when the colour's going on. I need to make sure that he's got those little flashes of feathers at the back. Darker part there on his shoulder. And you build up this until you think you have the thing right, and then we'll start adding colour. And the wonderful thing about this technique as well is that you can work out all sorts of different things and add in different elements if you feel it needs to add something, like another bird flying up there or something. You could do that. And then decide not to keep it and paint it out. Okay. Okay. All right, so that could be stated more there. Now, back to the darks again. All that sort of river scene and the branch, it's got to be very dark. All the better to highlight the gold, show the gold off, and the bird itself. Okay. Right. Now that's, see, we can start getting a much nicer solid dark now. Okay, so if you were trying to do this with student quality acrylics, it'd take much longer because there just isn't the density, the opacity, the pigment. There isn't enough pigment in the paint. You could do it, but it would take you much longer. Yeah. Might in fact be one more. No, there won't be another coat of the Brunaille after this. It'll all be done in the colour painting part. Okay, so that branch coming out like that. Yeah, all the details that you can't see at the moment, such that there will be painted over this in the colour stage. Can have bits of get some light colour for that river. That'll be lighter. Oh, no, don't use the white. I don't need the white. Yeah, it's better. Shape that tail. It's a very forgiving method. Yeah. Okay, now let's go over the birdie once again. So I need to join her up there. Oh, the paint feels much more smooth now. That dark part there. Dark there. Bit of dark up there. They can make more of some of those branches now. Coming up around there. Come across. I've actually done paintings, entire paintings, just using those three colours that I'm using for this Brunaille, and just a touch of white for the highlights at the end. And I saw a whole exhibition in Bologna one time of paintings that were done like that. And they were old paintings, you know, a few hundred years old. A whole selection of Brunaille paintings. Great. Yeah, his eye can be placed in a later stage. Now, top of his beak. Now it's either the male or the female has a different colour beak. I think it has red underneath, but I'm not sure which sex has the different colour. Make more of the beak up there. It's very nice to paint on this stuff. Love it. Smooth. And then that flash comes up. Across there like that. Up. The eye comes down there like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's good for this stage. Because once the gold foil goes on, some of this gets covered up with little flecks of gold. It's kind of a bit messy stuff, but then you go back in over it again, all will become clear. Okay. And as I say, you can do this for any painting. I've often done paintings for which I didn't have any sketches, and I just worked out the sketch on the painting using this method. The painting grew in places, shrunk in other places. It's a bit like that. So if you're not sure what you want to do, it's a good way of creating a painting. All those details can be put in at the colour stage. Of course, what I have to do is make sure that it is how I want it to be. Okay, one more pass, and then that will be the Brunaille, the underpainting, done. Especially round in these darks. This will be more detailed. Obviously, it's not just going to be a big block of dark. There will be details in there. It really does take the pressure off your painting. That's going to go along there. That's another branch going down. More of that river there. Okay, so in a naturalistic en plein air painting, this river would be reflecting what's going on up here, but that won't be the case in this icon. It'll be gold up there, and it'll just be a kind of a representational river here. Yeah. Goody. Right, that takes us to the end of the Brunaille part of this project. Okay, so next up, going to colour. I'll be painting of of what you can see here, but in colour. And the third part will, of course, be the gilding and then the making good. How are you doing? Before we get back to the brushes, a quick reminder, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and drop a comment. I love hearing what you're working on. It keeps the community growing and helps others find these video lessons too. If you'd like some extra resources, check out the links just below. I've got ebooks that take you step by step through oil painting, merchandise like t-shirts and aprons, perfect for keeping the paint where it belongs, and prints of my own work. And you'll even find original oil paintings if you'd like a unique piece for your wall. Every bit of support makes it possible for me to share these tutorials for free, and I can't thank you enough. Okay, let's get back to the demo. Right, so there's going to be another little bit of equipment added into this, and this is matte medium. Okay, so the idea is that we can glaze on the colour, and then when we're just sure that that's the way we want to go, we can start making the colour opaque. Okay, so this in fact is Galleria, I suppose you call it, matte medium, and this is actually the student quality because I prefer it. I had a bottle of the professional quality or the artist quality stuff, and I didn't like it. It was too goopy. I prefer this. Can you see it? There you go. That's this one's Winsor & Newton, but there's loads of them. Sennelier are good, and Golden have plenty. All right, so I'm going to add this up here. It's probably going to sort of drip down a wee bit, but I'll put some there. And I'm going to start out with the wings of this kingfisher. Okay, so I'm going to use a mixture of ultramarine and cyan. Okay, add a touch of yellow and then mix in some of the medium. So that will make it, matte medium is essentially acrylic medium. It's the material that all the pigments go into, but except it doesn't have any pigment in it. So I'm adding quite a bit of the medium. Let me grab that out of the way. And I'm just going to sort of tickle that on. See, I can still see the dark through this. But now it kind of looks blue. And this is blue too. And this is the same colour. But we can still see all the darks. It's a way of how would you say it? It's a cautious way of painting. You don't have to do it like this, but I like it. Now the next one is his back is. I'm going to make it pure cyan and a touch of yellow, and then matte medium. Quite a bit of matte medium. Okay, so let's put that on there. So that's just a mixture of matte medium, cyan, and a little bit of cadmium yellow medium. Cadmium yellow medium, yeah. All right. So there. So we've got the back on there. Now on his beak, a little bit of it's a bit purpley, so cadmium red and a little bit of cyan and medium, especially on the top there. The bottom's just dark. Okay, that's fine. Now the breast. So that if I get a little bit of yellow and red and medium. Oops, make sure that the blue's out of the brush. There. A bit more red, I think. Alright, that's fine. There's also the flash on his cheek. Okay. That's not bad. I think the wings could be slightly greener. So for the next tranche. Now, one of the reasons I use matte medium is that for scanning, to have a matte painting works much better. If you've got a very glossy painting, you know, the carriage of the scanner as it passes by is shining a light, you know, carries across the scanner, and you get these glares on the paintings. So for reproduction, I generally use a matte medium, and then once it's scanned, I'll put a gloss medium or a gloss varnish on it. Could be medium because it's an acrylic acrylic painting. But if it was oils, you know, I'd just put a gloss varnish on at the end. Makes life an awful lot easier. It's a terrible job trying to get glare and speckles off a scan that you've made. Okay, so where are we? Yeah, that's ready to go again. So a little bit more cyan, a little bit more ultramarine. This is for the general wings and head area. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow, and this time less of the matte medium. Okay. And this method, you know, gives paintings a lovely depth to them, glazed colour over an underpainting. It's different from an alla prima result. Up there, top of his head. And of course the corresponding wing. And that down there is darker. That part there. Some of that darker colour feathering into the stripe. Okay, that's good. Now let's go to the breast again. Strengthen the paint so it's less medium and more pigment. Bring that up a little bit. That can go in there like that. Now I notice a little foot that I missed, and also there's a red down there. I'm going to get a bit of medium, work it out first under there, and that shadow of his wing comes down there like that and across, and also his foot gripping the branch. I neglected, but there it is. Go in there now. That's good. A little bit more red, and that flash there on his cheek. Such a beautiful bird. You know, I was often invited out bird watching by a friend of mine when we were kids, and he'd get up at about 6 o'clock in the morning to go, and there was no way I was getting out of my scratcher at 6 in the morning. So I never went, and now I kind of regret it. And to this day, I mean, he hasn't been bird watching, this friend of mine, in many years, but he can still name all the birds and talk about their habitats and life cycles and things like that. My own worst enemy, didn't go. Now those flashes are lovely bright, but I don't think I'm going to use white. I think I'm going to stick with this warm bright yellow, which is beautiful as a kind of an alternative to white. I love that colour. It's very warm. There. And up here. Around there. Almost to the edge there. And the spinal colour, more so less medium now. It is kind of a version of a cyan there, so oh yeah, lovely. So I'm kind of committing now. To come over there like that. I want to leave some of what's underneath just to show through a little bit. Soften that edge. Come down there like that. Okay, and even, there's a bit of a mixture of the two blues here. That morphs into that colour there. And then we've got this here. Across the back of his head there. So, how am I doing on there? That's okay. So I'm going to brighten up the breast. There, yellow. A little bit of. I think I'll use that warm bright yellow. A touch of blue into it, so it's not too vibrant. And start giving a feathery kind of feel to dragging the paint across into that wing a little bit. Okay, so there is his eye. So really, that's it's reflecting the sky. In fact, his eye. It's about here. You see that? Just a reflection of the sky above it. And there's a lighter kind of purpley colour just above his beak there. Now, some more work on the wing. So, yeah, for kind of a greenish colour. So I'm working my way tonally upwards, away from the dark to the light, and allowing some of what's underneath to come through in various places. Okay, and the same on that side. And really, that goes like green as it gets to the front of his forehead there. that sort of aberration there, that can be dealt with at the gilding and making good stage. Now let's make a purple for his beak. So red, blue, and a little bit of the warm bright yellow. Okay. Up there like that. And in there. I think I might actually do something with his beak. And that can come there like that. There we go. Make more of that later. Back into the dorsal colour. I sound as if I know what I'm talking about, don't I? I presume it's the same as a dorsal fin if it's running down his back. So I can start putting in some strokes, directional strokes in the direction of the feathers. We'll start giving it a feathery quality. So I can connect that up to there. Okay, add some more actual white into it, I think. Well, let's stick with the warm bright yellow, it's nice. Okay, come down there like that. The brush is kind of, as the paint's coming off it, is opening out, which actually provides me with an opportunity of getting quite some quite feathery strokes. It was a useful thing to happen. Okay, and now we've got the main wings. The main wings, there is only wings. So there, oh, I think it's a bit too light. Just take it down a notch. The same thing's going to happen here. The brush will open out and then we get those feathery strokes. Okay, so can bring some of this down here. Around there like that. And of course over this side, mustn't forget. Come down there like that. Now it needs a bit more, a cyany version, a kind of bluish version, so I'm going to add the two blues into that a bit more. Around here as it comes down. There. And even on that side. Okay. likewise, I'm going to add in a little bit more light, and I can put in some feathery touches here as well. I think it comes together fairly quickly. I'm sure you'll agree. It's once you get the blocks down, the blocks do all the heavy lifting, as usual. Some preliminary little dabs up there. And now let's have a look at some of these feathers here. So these are something like that. And these dabs along there like that. Okay. Let's move on to something else. So back to the breast. Get some it's even lighter than that actually. Might even have to use some white. Some light strokes there. Okay, and then this is little feet. Orangey. There. And this part of the orange feathers in shadow, so that's a bit darker there. So it comes in under his tail. And mustn't forget his cheek again. Can start shaping it a bit more accurately now. That comes up there, up around his eye. Up there like that. And back to the dark. Shape all this a bit more accurately, so that dark comes up, the dark of the beak up there. And this part of his eyes. You can really see the dinosaur sort of heritage of birds when you start studying them. Dark along there, along his neck. Dark there. Just restate that dark. Make sure his beak is correct. There, like that. Okay, so there's a nice light to that purple we made before. I'm going to add a little bit of white into that. And that rises up there, plus there, there. And then we've also got that part, and that goes lighter as it extends into the face there. There. Now, back to the wings. Start putting in a little, this is a very pointy brush this, so I'm going to use that to put in little strokes there like that. Feathery, fluffy strokes. Okay, around there like that. Okay, then back to his back, back to the back. I'm putting white in this time now. Probably a bit too much there. Add a bit of cyan into it. Put in some feathery strokes at the point of the brush. Actually, I'm going to add in a little bit of medium to that to make it come off the tip of the brush a little bit more easily. That's better. Okay, that can come down there like that. Okay, grab a bit of that darker cyan part and put in those dabs. They're possibly a little bit too light. Mix in a bit of the rest of the wing colour. Sort of light strokes along there, and then of course we've got all of this patterning on his head. Kind of looks as if they're just stripes, but they're not. They have a kind of sort of randomness to them. I suppose it's for camouflage. Well, it can't be camouflage, can it? With something that's bright blue like that, then. I wondered what it all sort of means, the colours. The red breast, the flashes of blue. I'm going to put in a little point of light on his eye. That'll be there. And I'm just going to lighten up. Not too much though, just around the eye so that it's not all the one colour there. And then brighten up some of those dabs on his head. Yeah, I must start looking out for the kingfisher on the dodder now. On the poddle, in fact. I'm talking about the poddle is where one has been seen. Nobody ever talks about the poddle, because most of it's underground. As the city got bigger. some strokes in there. There's a nice light, same as on his breast, along here. Okay, let's make those white flashes a bit more contrasty. Add a bit of white into the into that pale, what is it? Yellow light, warm bright yellow. Sorry, I should say. And that's feathery as well. And this is feathery too. Feathery. Right. There's some slightly purplish hues in the wing, which is good to have. It's good to have plenty of colour, because like any object in, well, anywhere, on anything, it's reflecting. And iridescent feathers definitely reflect. So they can be in there too, a bit in here. Yeah. Back to underneath that beak. A lot of this stuff on the edge will be fixed in when we get to the making good stage. I call it making good, but I'm not sure if any other artists do. It's like a builder's phrase, isn't it? When they go around the snag list and make good after they've messed up your extension. Don't mention the war. I'm going to put his nostrils in there, and then there's a dark coming down there like that. Grab some white, get some cyan and a touch of yellow, and a bit of the medium to help the paint come off the tip of the brush, and put in some sort of slightly greenish versions of that light cyan. Going into there. Okay. Now, that's a bit too light. Grab some little bits, and we need to get in those, the way that the wings fold themselves into. beak here. There. And that can come down on the beak there. Okay, so I do need to put in a little dark there, where that his little foot is gripping, logically, the branch. So mustn't forget that. Come around there like that. Now, a bit to do with the branches. Let's grab some green and some red and some yellow, and we can sort of put in a bit of detailing where the branches are. That can go there like that. All this is just suggestion. Go along there like that, can't it? It's a long bent branch. No need to be too explicit. Then you have these branches coming down there like that. Yeah, so the light's hitting them on the top of them. So I'm going to make a greenish grey now. There's a lot of greeny greys in wood. Got to sort of show that you know these things, or you've observed them in nature. Along there like that. Alright, so we've got something building there. Now, let's do something with those bushes and trees that are bounding the river. So I don't want them to be just sort of perfectly sort of round bits. I need to show there's foliage coming off them, or I want to anyway. This kind of thing, just the edges. Okay, let's do something with the water. So let's grab some of that. It was like that, wasn't it? So it's based on the warm bright yellow. Put a bit of green, a bit of blue into it, and a bit of red. More green. And we can put in the way that it might be reflecting what's on the bank. Don't do too much of that now. Don't want it to be too... It's a suggestion, really, that we can see the reflections on the water. Because that, in turn, will allow us to see that's reflecting that kind of thing. line that up across there. That can go there like that. And then we can have some movement on the water. It doesn't matter if it's a bit stylized. It's actually preferable if it's a little bit stylized. You know, like a Hokusai print type of thing. You know, fish break the water and then they cause ripples and that kind of thing. And even that won't be even, will it? Yes, as I say, I won't be using real gold on this, but I have some. And if anyone wants to commission me to do it, I will do it. It's gold is a challenge, even to know the material that you're working with. It's lovely. I won't do it on video though. Right. Okay, is there anything else I want to do with that? Yes, I wouldn't mind just putting in a little bit of natural colour into the onto that dark. Not very much, but I think it'd look nice if it's there. Just a little bit of variation. As I get into this painting, you know, I start living in it and imagining what time of day it is. And for me, this is the evening. Almost kind of like golden hour, which is apt, I suppose, isn't it? On a February day, because there are no leaves on those trees, are there? And around here too. And that will make the branches more apparent, I suppose. Everything goes kind of grey in the half light. And then we will put in a little bit of detailing here. Maybe we'll put in the suggestion of a few wildflowers as well. Why? Because we love wildflowers. Kind of a randomness. And that helps to bring the branch off the canvas. Oh, I like that as well, which is not, that was supposed to be part of the branch, but I actually prefer it as part of the river. So I think I'll do that. So if I can just put that up, push that branch up a little bit. And as the bank comes away from the light, it just gets darker again. what I meant was about the river was, if I can just grab a little light there, I like that there as the river. Push that up so that it agrees with the rest of the river there. And the last thing I'm going to do for this section is add in some light into the water as well, especially around here, because I like to sit objects in a pool of light. So the water is made up of 3 tones, really. They kind of intersect. Colour that a little bit more like that river that's on the other side of the branch, and we'll call that a day for this section. So let me explain the materials I'm going to be working with now. Got packs like this. That's about 6 inches square, 15 centimeters square, something like that. And you get loads of interleaved parts. So we'll be using 3 or 4 of these. So that remains to be seen how many of these we'll actually be using. Bear with me, I'll show you also the other bit of material we need is this here. That's acrylic gold size. Okay, so let's see if I can come up a bit closer to here. Roberson do it. I actually can't remember where I bought this. I've had it so many years. And it lasts a long time. You probably only need one of these bottles in your whole life if you do this kind of project. That's only 60 mils as well. So what happens with this is you paint it on and then you let it dry, but it dries tacky. Okay, so let's get going. Okay, so let's put that up on here. Let's put it there so where you can see me accessing it. You can see how tacky it is now. There's stringy bits coming up off the lid. So let me get my larger brush. Okay, so I'm going to paint this around all the existing painting. Okay, so just grab some of that. And I suppose it's important to keep it flat, really reasonably flat. You don't want to, it's quite liquid actually, but, and get it everywhere, right up to the edges. Make sure there are no massive, I don't know, what do you call it, peaks and troughs. Okay, here we go. I'm doing all the background area first around, and then I'll go up close to the painted parts. Okay, make sure that's all flattened out. And like a true gilding job, that you would be aiming for flat surface, you know, how would you say, a kind of a continuous gold field around the painting. I'm not after that. I want to use the gold as a kind of in a textural way, in a kind of a descriptive way. You'll see what I mean as I do it. Okay, so up around there, I'll probably have to get a smaller brush in a moment. And so around here, up around the beak, I'm not going over the beak, right up to it. And what will happen is the gold will stick it'll stick to the background, but not absolutely everywhere. It just seems to be the way it works. There will be holes in it, but that doesn't matter in the way that I'm going to be using it. The description I want is basically of a sky which has clouds in it. So right up underneath there, up around here, down there like that. Now I definitely need a smaller brush now. Up to his head. Right, let's get my smaller brush. I think I'll get my pointy brush, my number 5. Okay, so that little triangle in there, I might have to support my hand. Yeah. I don't have the steadiest of hands. Shape all that, grab some more up to the edges of the tree line. And don't worry too much about mistakes, going over into the painting too much, because that's the making good part. I'll be going back in and painting on top of the gold. As long as you're not painting on too much of the over the gold, it will be fine. The paint will adhere. It's the joy of acrylic paint. It's quite versatile in that respect. Okay. Up to there. And it's a messy job. There'll be flakes of gold foil everywhere, flying up in the air, blowing around with your every breath. It's a joy to watch true gilders working. How sure of hand they are. So I think this is a more artistic endeavour. Okay, so we've got all that there. I haven't missed any parts, have I? That's all done in there. Good. So I'm going to dry that gently with a hairdryer. Okay, so let's check it. That seems to be fine by me. Okay, so now you need to be very gentle with this. So let me, I'll put this on the, well, we don't need that anymore, do we? So let's put that away. We don't need it yet. We will be using it again, for sure. Okay, so let's put that there. And let's actually take that off. That's kind of a cardboard stiffener. See those little bits there? We'll keep those. We'll keep that. Now this is our first full. That's our first full leaf. Okay, so if this was real gold now, you'd have to lift that with a brush which has been, I don't know how you'd call it, electrolyzed. You know, they rub it in on their coat first, and then it lifts straight up to the brush. It's a very lovely thing to watch. I don't need to do that so much with this. It's tougher stuff, but it really is very, you can see it wafting there, can't you? So I'm going to place it here, up to the edge, and then just let it fall on. And then I'll get my brush. I've got this hog hair brush, which is quite stiff bristles. Here, there we go. It's about 1 inch. And I'm just going to tamp it down. Don't disturb the parts where the gold leaf doesn't reach. Okay, so I'll get another full one. Put that there. Take away the interleaf. And let's grab this one. There's something else on my hands there. And I'm going to lay that down like that there. It's impossible to keep all the excess. So it's inevitable there'll be waste of it. But try to keep it to a minimum, I suppose. You know, so it's just that you can use the parts, the other little bits that are unused off this leaf later on. In fact, I can actually sort of, let me get my brush that down, cut it there like that. And then this can go across here, up there like that. Right, and now I'm going to tear that away. Okay, keep that there. And some of these excess bits are worth keeping as well. See, there was no size on the actual painting of the bird itself, so those bits come off easily. Okay, so the rest of it, that might be useful. Okay, so I'm going to make a big mess now. Let me grab a bit of paper just to put underneath. All right, so you can see where the gold is on the bird, and you just get your brush and rub it away. And all the areas that weren't sized, the gold leaf or the gold foil won't stick to it. And here too. See, you can see that the little branch is coming off. Now there'll be areas where the gold actually, for some reason, sticks to the acrylic. Not very much, but they'll definitely be there. And that will be corrected in the final stage, which is the making good stage. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to get my, put that there. Hang on. Be careful about the size getting on your fingers as well, because it makes it hard to handle the foil. Okay, put that there just to keep it down. Get rid of the edges as well. Okay, so it's kind of 99% covered. Need to get rid of those little folds. So there's lots of kind of gold-coloured dust. And now take that off and just give it a blow. Okay, so what have we got? So there. Right, so yeah, you can see there are places like, for example, here, just around the crown that are still uncovered. A bit around here, and here, but up here. Okay, so we're going to deal with those next. But before we do that, I'll show you what I do. This is my method for sort of making the gold textured and have different flavors all around that gold field. So let me grab I need my palette for this. Grab that there like that. Oh, you can see everything there now, that's good. Okay, so I need some matte medium. Put the matte medium where it was yesterday. So what I'm going to do is gather some medium and a little bit touch of burnt sienna to taste. Okay, just a little bit. So it's very, very light mix. Mostly matte medium and a little bit just to colour the matte medium. Okay, and then I'm going to go around the whole thing except for the painting. Well, you can go over that part all right, because that's just a dark. And this will knock the gold, the shine back, make it slightly darker than it usually is. Okay, there we go. And duller too. And then I can get my rag and wipe it down. Little gold flecks coming up from the surrounding area. And then I'm going to give that... Now, so now it's slightly duller than it was, okay? And now what I'll do is clean my brush. And I'm going to do another application of gold, of the foil, okay? So it's back to the size. And at this stage, if I can get that to stay where it is, let me get a little bit of blue tack, because that's on an angle. A little bit of blue tack there. I'll keep it in place, stop it from tipping forward. Okay, so grab some size. And then cover those areas that remained uncovered there. But sort of random shapes. Up there, here. And here, for example. Up to there, definitely there. Cloud shapes, if you will. Okay, around the crown. Random abstract shapes, and then anywhere you see there are areas that are missing, the gold there. See, there's a fleck of gold that's remained there, and it may have been some size there, but sometimes it just sticks to the surface of the acrylics anyway. But that's that can all be corrected later on. Okay, there, like that. Make sure there's no pooling of the material. And around here, of course. Up there. And bring that down there. Okay, maybe even around there. As always, I love this idea of a pool of light, sitting the object in a pool of brightness. Okay, that can go in across that part there. And then I'll have to get my hairdryer. There. to make sure that that comes all the way down to the bottom there. Okay. Back we go. Just want to check. Yeah, that's kind of tacky. So, back into the gold. Now, I'm going to have to work from a different area now because that palette's on there. So, I'm going to grab some large pieces again, some full squares, because I've got a large area to cover. Let's grab one here. So, same again. Put it down and get my hog's hairbrush. The usual problems is I have a camera right in front of my body. Put that in there like that. So I have to reach around the camera in order to do this. Okay, that in there. I've got some larger pieces here. I'll tell you what, I'll grab another full piece. Pull that away. See if there's anything to be covered there. No, that's okay. That's okay. Up there. Yeah, a little bit needed there. And over here, definitely. Grab some small pieces here. Okay, and then rub that down with the brush. Get rid of the excess. I pull some large bits off first. Keep them. There. Up here like that. Okay, and then get rid of the excess. Grab it off the easel there for a second. Okay, so yeah, you can see we have this sky-like formations. Okay, see these little flecks everywhere. Good. And then we repeat the process. Let's grab the brush. And remember to do a little bit of burnt sienna. Really very little. Into the matte medium. Okay, and then again, knock it back. Knock the shine back, I suppose. It's everywhere covered, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, and then get your rag and buff that away. Okay, so that is, you can still see those shapes there, because we're going to put a third layer on. 3 main layers, and then probably any sort of little bits afterwards. Okay, so we're back to the size. Give my brush a wash. Back to the size. Then we're going to interconnect some of these things. Now, I always tend to put the brightest shine, the brightest layer around the hero of this image to concentrate the eye. Up there like that, all the way around his head, and then make it random in shape outside of that. Because the idea is to monumentalize the figure. Like a Byzantine icon, but also not like a Byzantine icon, because they're flat areas of gold. It's got to be different. Up around there like that. More size, and bright towards the horizon. In that little recess there. You don't have to do that, but it's the way I like to work things. And then we can put in some random pieces up above. Connect those different tones of gold. Okay, there we go. Sometimes you get a bit of resistant, gold where you're trying to put the size down, because the size is water-based. It's for use with acrylic stuff, so it's kind of like the gold is impenetrable by water, or how would you say it? Sort of like a raincoat. You know, the water just sort of blobs up on top of it. So I've got to try and flatten out those areas to make sure that the gold is going to adhere. Bring that around to the edge. Okay, out with the hairdryer again. All right, so let's get another large piece. Grab and put that there. Now the fact that it's all gone down all bitty like that, doesn't make too much of a difference. It would if it was meant to be a continuous, even gold field, but it is meant to have texture, so happily. Put that one down. Let's grab another one. Now I'm surrounded by little pieces of this stuff now, so I can put some of them down where I missed the first time. There's a bit there. Sometimes you have to hunt for the areas that you've got the size on because you can't see the size anymore. See, no, that's okay there. Was that good there? I think it was. Oh, yeah, there's a bit that was missing. Maybe here. We've got a bit coming up here. No, that seems to be okay. All right. There, that's for sure. I remember putting some size down there. Okay. Let us grab go around with the Hoover after this. So there you go, there's the Kingfisher again. This stuff is absolutely wafer thin. Couldn't believe how delicate this stuff is. And it's nowhere near as delicate as real gold. A bit of gold stuck to the acrylics there without. Okay, let's check this. Let's bring it out and then blow off the residue. Is that how I want it? Okay, there are some areas. I think I might do one last go around. So I'm going to use a much lighter oil. A more medium than before. It's a very pale very pale mix. There. And rub it down. This is to taste. You know what I mean. Okay. In fact, the way it is now is probably more like real gold. Okay, so let's grab. I'm going to grab smaller or put in smaller bits of size now with a smaller brush. Judiciously applied, or artistically applied, I think. So up around the head and down at the lower reaches of the background. Around there. We want to direct the eye with the luster. It's increasingly lustrous as we get towards the kingfisher and towards the horizon. In kind of a way you're flying blind, but it does sort of have an effect. So what are we're kind of on the fourth pass, really. Just put that in there like that. Bit coming in through there. See how that works. I have to get my hairdryer out again. Right, put that away. Now let's start applying some of, maybe something like that. It'll catch on the bits that are sized. And I've got all these little bits that I can use now. Makes a change from just painting. I did these many years ago and I kind of stopped doing them for a while, so there, like that. See these other sort of bits and pieces. And they should be kind of random and all sorts of shapes. And how would you say, abstract, I suppose. I've got half a sheet here. See what I catch there. Don't think there's anything up there really. Anything missing down here? It's a glorious mess. There we go. Put that there. And then rub it back with the brush. Okay. Take it off the stand just to get rid of some of that. What do we have here? So okay. I'll try. So what I'll do now is I'll just clean up for a bit because all the flecks are getting everywhere. So, okay, so now we can take down all the gold work is done. So just take down that size because we're going to go back into painting. And this is what I call the making good. It's the refining stage. Okay, right, there we are. So let's start in with the dark then. So blue and burnt sienna. We can re-establish some of these areas here. So there we go. See, I'm going over little flecks of gold here. It takes a while for the or a couple of coats before you really actually get rid of the gold. You'll probably be going back over that a couple of times. And like that, and also those twigs. Here. So I'm going to go back and make sure that the edges of the bird are correct, and also just finish off the painting itself. It wasn't quite complete. So around the head for a start. So let's have a look at the final product. So just bring it up here. So there you go. There's the luster on that gold foil set against the darkness of the background and the matte of the acrylic paint. So the next thing to do is to scan this so that I have a record of it, and after that I can varnish the painting. And once the varnish goes on, it increases exponentially that luster, so it's quite wonderful. I do these as commissions, so if you're ever looking for something that will last a lifetime and never decrease in its joy, you can commission me, and you know how to contact me. There's means of contacting me all over the YouTube page. So what you can do for me to keep this channel going is to comment You know, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section below. And then, if you wouldn't mind, you hit the like button. Everyone says smash the like button. I can never bring myself to say that. The like button, that helps the algorithm find my videos. And subscribe to the channel. What I'm going to do next, when I finish this, is show you some close-ups of the finished product. So thanks again for watching and seeing this through to the end, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye now.